What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network for the state of the game in the Pokemon trading card game in August, with the newest main set being Astral Radiance, and the newest set in general being the smaller Pokemon Go set that came out, which we haven't had any official events yet with Pokemon Go legal, and World Championships next week will be the first event with the Pokemon Go set legal. But I'm mostly going to focus on Astral Radiance's impact and yeah, if you guys have never seen one of these before, every set I do a state of the game where I talk about how much I'm enjoying the standard format of the Pokemon trading card game. Do I like where it's at in terms of card balance, deck variety, competitive environment, casual environment? And do I like it more than the last set, or is it worse and am I waiting for the next set to make it better? Things like that. Do I think there needs to be bans? Do I think other mechanics need to be printed, etc., and so on? So I started doing these during a time when I think we were in one of the worst formats ever in Pokemon, which was over the pandemic, around Vivid Voltage being the newest set. That time was just pretty miserable for fun, skill being important, deck variety. Just that time was horrible. I think my favorite format in ever since Darkness Ablaze was released, which was a bad format, and I liked Rebel Clash prior to it. So since Rebel Clash, the first format I enjoyed playing a good bit, I think, was the recent Brilliant Stars meta, um, with Sword and Shield through Brilliant Stars being the sets in standard. Astral Radiance added Palkia. It also added Radiant Pokemon, and really the only Radiant Pokemon we saw at a large scale is Radiant Greninja. There were several Arceus Charizard decks with the Wordier V and Radiant Heatran at Milwaukee and NAIC, and even fewer decks using Radiant Hawlucha. Um, so Palkia obviously is now either the best deck or the second best deck, and that just came out, so that impacted things a lot. Now we weren't just worried about Mew being able to be very aggressive, but we're also worried about Palkia, which can have an aggressive game from turn 2 and on. I do think the top 2 to 3 decks are pretty similar in matchup spread and power level, those being Palkia, Arceus, Inteleon, and Mew. And I also think we have a good variety of decks in the like 4th through 12th best deck area. You know, we have Arceus Duraludon, Arceus Flying Pikachu, we have Regigigas, we have Blissey Miltank, got Ice Rider. There's a lot in that tier like 1.5 to 2.5 range, and then there's even more decks, of course, in the tier 3ish range, which are pretty much decks that like you wouldn't expect to do that well at a major event, but they're quite playable still if you enjoy them. So overall in deck variety, I think we have 3 big decks on the map pretty much for competitive, which is natural. You know, Arceus Int, Palkia Int, and Mew. And then we have several decks that are just under their power level that can also succeed based on, you know, the deck list, matchup spread, the meta of the day, getting a little lucky, and who pilots the decks. Overall, I think we're in a fine metagame. And I say this a lot. I never really cared about, do I like this format? Do I like this meta? I never cared about that most of my time enjoying the Pokemon trading card game up until the Sword and Shield era, where the game just got so boring and diluted and watered down with V and V maxes, and also just the general card design. And I think a big reason for that is there's pretty much one attack on every Pokemon card we're using. Palkia has one attack. Arceus has one attack. Mew VMAX, it's almost always copying Technoblast, but it essentially has more attacks than just one. Duraludon VMAX, one attack. Blissey V, one attack. Miltank, one attack. Ice Rider has 2 attacks. Ice Rider is a nice change to that, but so many cards have just 1 attack. So the deck, like the decks themselves don't have much, there's not much variety within the decks themselves. Like Arceus and Teleon, you just hope to say Trinity Nova every turn starting turn 2, and then Chern and repeat Trinity Nova until you win the game. Palkia is typically going to just use Subspatial Swell or Subspace Swell a few times in a row to win the game. Sometimes it uses Radiant Greninja. So games are lacking depth, like the actual gameplay right now, which is on creatures for their card design of V and V Max and V Star being focused on just having 1 attack. You know, we really lost the magic of GX Pokemon having 3 attributes, whether that be 3 attacks or an ability and 2 attacks. Um, so I think the game is playable right now. It's enjoyable right now. Is it great? No, it's not great, but it's good. It's good enough that I can just not even care about, is this a good format, and just worry about playing it. Like I was saying, that's what I used to do. I used to not analyze every format and every meta. And that's why when people started saying over the pandemic, in response to my claims of how bad this metagame was and how bad this format was, people would say, well, players always say, oh, this format is broken because of this or that, or this meta is stale because of this. And I really wasn't a person to engage in those kinds of things. I just enjoyed the game for what it was and adapted to what I needed to do in a competitive environment. Whereas I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to compete. I didn't want to play casual. I didn't want to do nothing because of how bad I felt the Sword and Shield early and mid metagames and formats, and just like the things you had to do to win were not fun. So it's gotten better since then. It's still not perfect. I'm hoping that Scarlet and Violet will show us some more interesting card design, as you know, more than 1 attack per strong Pokemon kind of deal. 3 attacks would be great. Would love to see that again. Um, Coming up in the next set is Giratina V Star, Kyurem V Max, Zoroark V Star. I'm excited about the Lost Zone engine. I think Giratina is very good. Kyurem's pretty good. Zoroark is, I'm not I'm not sold on Zoroark. But we got strong cards coming. We have a new kind of like turbo Lost Zone engine coming with Comfey and the new items and stuff. So we got interesting stuff, interesting strategies, new cards, new twists on old effects, things like that. Nothing that's really catching my eye is saying, okay, the game is going to get drastically better because of this, but the game is like fine. You know, if you like Pokemon and you like the Pokemon trading card game, this is a fine time to play it. There's a ton of decks to play. There's 3 very good decks to play, and then a bunch of good decks. Um, and you know, if you're playing casually, then who the heck cares what the metagame's like? Just build a deck that you like and go to League and play. Uh, so yeah, I think the game is fine right now. Like I said, it's not bad enough for me to complain, but it's not great enough for me to rave about it. And that's essentially my state of the game for this set for Astral Radiance. And I guess Pokemon Go, slightly I'll touch on it. We may see some stuff with Radiant Blastoise and Radiant Charizard at Worlds. I'll be excited to see if either of those do anything substantial, if we see them on stream, if they get any top placements. Mewtwo V-Star is like an okay card, but I don't think that's the Mewtwo we'll be seeing at Worlds. We'll probably see Mewtwo V Union. And Lunatone Solrock, I would be very surprised if anyone brought that to Worlds, especially if anybody is playing it in day 2. Um, so yeah, I'll be doing some Worlds content next week. We'll have a tier list video and the top decks I would play for either day 1 or day 2 of the event. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe for daily Pokemon TCG content. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, please comment down below. And I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.